called the change, but it's actually an array of changes, many of which pose a severe challenge to women's physical, mental and emotional health midlife. Menopause remains shrouded in silence and stigma. In India, it's still a taboo subject, leaving women grappling with its potentially life-altering effects without sufficient social or medical support. Badrunisa Sheikh is 46. She'd noticed changes in her periods over the past couple of years and suffered body aches, but didn't think much of it. But earlier this year, Badrunisa had cramps so severe, she says the pain could only be compared to childbirth. She went to the doctor and was surprised to learn she's been going through perimenopause, the stage before menopause.
नहीं, मुझे तो ऐसा कुछ नॉलेज नहीं था. जब मैं डॉक्टर के पास गई, फिर जैसे मतलब सबको बताई मेरी ये प्रॉब्लम ऐसा ऐसा है, तो जिसको ये सब चीज़ हो चुका है, तो उन लोगों ने भी यही बताया कि हम लोग को भी ऐसा ही होता था. इस मतलब जैसा हैवी ब्लीडिंग और जैसा मंथ में 2 मंथ नहीं आया, फिर उसके बाद आया, उसके बाद ऐसा मतलब होते होते लोग को मेनोपॉज हो गया.
Perimenopause involves a decline in reproductive hormones and can impact memory, mood, bones and skin, for example. That stage lasts 4 years on average. At this rate, Badrunisa could possibly reach menopause in her 40s, a few years earlier than women in developed countries. That's in line with the findings of the latest medical research. Some studies reveal the average age of menopause for women in India is between the ages of 46 to 47, while in the US it's 51. Doctors say nutritional factors often play a role.
Menopause, it will depend upon various factors like the socio-economic status, the nutrition. So in general in women, especially in the rural and the underprivileged society, the nutrition is poor.
But it's not just socio-economic factors that impact the speed at which women reach menopause, or the kind of healthcare and support they receive once they do. Cultural attitudes in a patriarchal society mean women's health often isn't openly discussed. Although with menstruation widely considered taboo and impure in India, Dr. Tamke says some women are actually relieved to reach menopause.
In India, there is very less awareness, like, you know, the family structure, the social structure, where women are not giving, they don't consider themselves as important in aspect of their health. So like if there is a body ache, if there is any symptom, they try some home remedies and they continue to keep going without taking any medical assistance.
A shortage of medical facilities and even trained specialists, especially in rural areas, adds to the challenges menopausal women face.
Even in the urban areas, we don't really run dedicated menopausal clinics as such, so they would not like to go to, there is general less awareness within the patient and in the health system also.
Calcium, vitamins and hormonal treatments are available, but while they can provide relief, the cost also puts treatment out of reach for women in underserved communities. And Dr. Tamke says without sound medical advice, many women are navigating this crucial transition blindly and sacrificing their quality of life. The number of people over the age of 60 in India is expected to double to more than 200 million by 2036 from 2011. With people living longer, this means that women spend a major portion of their lives having been through menopause. But in many cases here, they've never sought treatment. It isn't only women from poor communities who suffer in silence and experience early menopause. Genetic factors also come into play.
I know plenty of friends who have menopaused in their late 30s. And my mom had menopaused in her early 40s, and, I was expecting it.
Writer Shunali Kula Shroff went through menopause at the age of 47 to 48. She says even she didn't fully understand what was happening to her because there is so little discussion around it. Shonali's symptoms during perimenopause included brain fog, feeling low, hot flushes and bone pain.
It is just your biological destiny. You're supposed to ride it out. There's this expectation of stoicism. And so I remember my mother going through mood swings, and that's all that I remember of it. And when I asked her, I said, I'm dreading menopause. I asked, the minute my perimenopausal symptoms set in, I asked her about it. And she said, oh, no, it's okay. It was nothing at all.
But Shonali says the impact of menopause is enormous, mentally and physically. After doing a lot of her own research, she turned to biohormone replacement therapy to help manage the effects. Social media is helping to open up discussions about menopause in India to some extent, she says.
I decided to be outspoken about it because I just thought that I've been able to navigate my own way through it. But if I talk about it, it might help the next person.
Philanthropist and mental health advocate Nirja Birla comes from one of India's most prominent industrialist families. She too is eager to normalise the conversation around menopause in India.
Really never spoke about it, our moms never spoke about it.
She recently addressed female corporate leaders and entrepreneurs in the tech hub of Bangalore on the mental health aspects of menopause.
Traditionally in India, because it's so patriarchal and the woman is always supposed to be the caregiver, but suddenly you're finding that there is a shift coming about there. You're sort of going through a little bit of like an emptiness syndrome, where you're questioning your purpose, you're questioning whether you're really needed. So all those feelings also make you feel very, sort of your self-worth is being questioned and there's a loss of identity.
Badrunisa says she's fortunate that her family have been supportive as she approaches menopause. But for all too many, it's a lonely journey that takes a toll on both the body and mind.
It was here, outside the US Capitol in May, that Oscar-winning actor Halle Berry declared that she was in menopause as she campaigned for a new bipartisan bill aimed at boosting support for women who are going through this change. Its passage has stalled, but her speech is part of a broader cultural shift as women stand up against the stigma surrounding menopause, just as they realise how little we understand about this stage in a woman's life, a stage that begins for around 6,000 women each day here in the US.
I'm in menopause! Okay?
Until recently, this major life phase experienced by half of the world's population was barely mentioned.
Enough is enough.
But as women in the public eye, from Hollywood actors to social media influencers, speak about their experiences,
you need to educate yourself.
Menopause has finally hit the mainstream and the bookstore.
I am a lobbyist by day, a graphic novelist by night.
Like her book's heroine, Ilana Breutman had found herself starting to feel invisible in her male-dominated profession.
My career has really been spent in national security and technology issues, but what I started to really notice, probably late 40s, early 50s, just being ignored in ways that I hadn't experienced before. And at first, it felt like gaslighting. I was like, what's going on, until I started to realize it was, as you age, maybe you lose some of that interest from other people.
It inspired her to self-publish a book showcasing the superpowers of middle-aged women, including the very invisibility they feel. Upending the narrative that women are past their prime at menopause, the book was chosen by Oprah Winfrey for her website's Mother's Day gift guide earlier this year.
I do think that for women, aging women, really retaining their seat at the table, we do need to change the culture, and we need to change how we're viewed, and why not have a superheroine of a certain age? And I thought, why not gather the actual powers? Like, I don't want her to be a superheroine in spite of age. It's because of age and what happens to women's bodies with age.
She believes the way to change attitudes towards menopause is through culture, raising awareness even in venues and events traditionally attended by younger people.
One friend of mine, which I haven't done yet, one friend of mine said, why don't you go to one of those Comic-Cons? I think that's what they're called, right? Like huge conventions. And I keep thinking, that's for like 18-year-olds who are writing about some new AI-driven superhero or something. I don't know. But maybe I should. Maybe this needs to get into very different spaces and say, here we are. We haven't stopped being creative just because we're over whatever age.
Kristen Sato agrees. She struggled with menopause symptoms for years before finding help through Winona, a telehealth service designed specifically for women in midlife.
So now I'm in my mid-40s and I'm, not feeling good. I've got the hot flashes again, the vaginal dryness, the dry skin, brain fog, irritability.
Now she takes bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, which relieves menopause symptoms by replacing declining hormone levels in the body. She says it's been life-changing.
I use the transdermal cream and I take the DHEA oral supplement, and really, my hot flashes are gone. I almost don't think about menopause in terms of, the hot flashes and the night sweats. I just, that's not a thing for me. So that alone is huge.
Winona's medical director says it's providing treatment that many doctors in the traditional healthcare system are not. In 2002, a study linked HRT to an increased risk of breast cancer. It's since been shown that data had been misinterpreted, but by then, trust in HRT had taken a serious and lasting hit.
A lot of doctors that trained around that time or even after that time were taught that hormones were dangerous. There was so much fear-mongering around hormone therapy, and really a lot of misinformation that was out there. And so it really just was not emphasized, I think, in education. And I can speak to, just my own experience as an OBGYN. Even, being board certified in this specialty, I felt like I was very ill prepared to care for patients at this point in their lives.
Even as videos like this go viral on social media, many doctors are still not getting this vital training. A 2023 survey published by the National Institutes of Health found that over 90% of obstetrics and gynecology residency program directors in the US agreed that residents should have access to a standardized menopause curriculum, yet less than a third reported they actually offer one. So increasingly, women are turning to specialist providers who can give them the guidance they need.
We really exist for those patients that maybe don't have access, or maybe they've gone to their physician and been told no, or been told, oh, well, this is just a normal part of aging, suck it up. And I think that now women are demanding better for themselves. And so hopefully for generations to come, women won't have to suffer in silence.
With A-list stars now shouting about it from the red carpet.
Get your checkups. Think about HRT. Think about what you're going to do to manage perimenopause and menopause.
Ending the silence around menopause is long overdue.
The United Nations Population Fund estimates 1.1 billion women will be in menopause this year. Now, that's a fifth of the global workforce, many of them reaching what should be the peak of their professional lives. But research shows most will be struggling with symptoms while at work, something campaigners in Europe are trying to tackle.
Healthcare worker Hazel Hayden knows firsthand about trying to juggle work and family life whilst going through menopause. She initially struggled with a lack of services and support, so she took action and set up her own menopause clinic in Bristol, England. Operations started in 2019, and since then, they've helped thousands of women. Help that is silently but often desperately needed.
Hazel previously worked as a nurse for the National Health Service, but ironically, the system offered her no flexibility.
I was working 3 long days a week, but we didn't get a lunch break. I asked if I could shorten my hours. There was no allowance for that. Or could I change my hours? So instead of doing 3 long days, because by the time I finished at 6:30 of an evening, I was absolutely shattered. 8 to 6:30 was a really long day. So I said, could I do 4 days of shorter hours? And that wasn't allowed at all. Asked for lunch breaks, wasn't allowed.
A 2022 study of over 4,000 women going through menopause in the UK found more than half experienced reduced motivation at work, suffered a drop in confidence, and faced anxiety or depression. A quarter had to take time off due to their symptoms. But menopause and perimenopause can present at work in very different ways.
So the symptoms may have a different impact depending on what type of job you're in, whether you're outdoors, indoors, whether you're in a hot environment, that's going to be worse for the flushes and sweats, whether you're doing shift work. It's so individual.
That physical discomfort can also translate into economic pain. Quantifying the monetary cost is tricky, but a recent UK study found 60,000 women were not in employment due to menopausal symptoms. That adds up to about $2 billion a year in lost economic potential. A different methodology estimates the global cost at around $140 billion annually. That's money menopausal women are missing out on, and experienced companies are losing. Dr. Curry founded Menopause Matters in 2001. Through magazines and talks back then to podcasts and webinars now, she helps women understand what menopause means for them and how managers can help their employees.
The most successful developments I've seen is where people are holding webinars, holding group sessions, holding cafe events, all these kind of practical things, and just looking at what adjustments can we make for that individual. So it might be something really simple like what's the temperature, what's the environment like? What about access to toilet facilities? So sometimes in that transition with menopause, one of the problems is periods becoming erratic, irregular, unexpected. And how do you manage with that?
Campaigners stress the need for all employees and managers to have basic knowledge on signs to look out for, and ideally an open workplace culture where those struggling with menopause can discuss what they're going through. That, doctors say, can only help women feel better supported through the transition, but also offers an opportunity to signpost treatment options for symptoms of menopause for which workplace accommodations won't be enough.
So the commonest symptoms affect people in the workplace, the symptoms affecting their brain, their memory. So you can't just expect a workplace to carry you through when you have symptoms that are due to a hormone deficiency. If someone had low iron and they were tired at work, you wouldn't just give them a cushion and let them lie down in the afternoon. You'd talk to them and say, well, maybe you can take some iron supplements. And that's exactly the same with these conversations.
The same 2022 study found 1 in 10 UK women felt compelled to leave their jobs as a result of their symptoms, a particular blow for those experiencing menopause due to aging who may otherwise be approaching the top of their careers. And so across the channel, a new long-term study aims to better understand the impact of menopause and its management. 100,000 French women in their 30s are being invited to participate in research that will track their experience over 10 years. But women in France may have to wait longer than those in the UK to access the latest pharmaceutical innovations, even as new medicines are being rolled out. These include a non-hormonal treatment for hot flushes by German pharmaceutical company Bayer, available since last year and already approved by Canada and the UK.
Et la France met toujours beaucoup plus de temps que d'autres pays européens pour accepter la commercialisation de ces médicaments, ce qui explique pourquoi la France a été très en retard dans les possibilités de disposer de ces médicaments par rapport à d'autres pays européens où ils sont déjà commercialisés depuis plusieurs années.
That's because even once a drug is approved at the EU level, the French administrative process to get a new drug to market and finalize pricing negotiations takes longer than European peers. Campaigners warn that if governments and companies don't step up, women will continue to suffer unnecessarily, and businesses will lose their most experienced talent early.
But with greater understanding on how workplaces can help, and by making full use of modern treatment options, physicians and activists believe the transition through perimenopause, menopause, and into the next stage of life needn't be nearly as hard for women as it's historically been.